Hey there, my name is Shadeen, and you're watching Your Heart Matters, presented by L.A.M.B.S Ministry. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the tender heart. Looking back over my year and thinking about what is next in my life, the biggest thing that has stuck out over and over is one word: prayer. I feel as though I'm really okay at some Christian disciplines. I'm obedient in my church going and my study. I'm obedient in my Christian living and the way I conduct myself most of the time. There's not one big longing that I'm feeling right now in my life or a place I feel that I need deliverance. However, I believe that God is always growing us, and we as Christians need to be seeking out the places we need to grow. For me, that area is prayer. My desire for the year 2016 is to live a life of prayer, a life of constantly seeking not only God's will and sovereignty in my life, but also in the lives of those around me. Seeking and talking to Him about it, because you see, in its rawest form, that is all prayer really is: talking to Jesus and seeking His face. I think my biggest obstacle in this seeking is going to have to do with my heart. I lack the ability to be tender sometimes. Not all the time. I have tender moments with my husband, my daughters, my parents, and most recently my toddler that the Lord has blessed us with. But for the most part, I'm a very put your big girl pants on and deal with it kind of girl. There is very little whining around me. I have good intentions. I want my children to be independent thinkers. I want them to grow up to be humans that they can be proud of. However, in those intentions, I feel that sometimes I can come across as hard and too cross, not ooey gooey enough. I think this prevents me sometimes from having an honest, heartfelt, tender response to the things around me, a response that would lead me to my knees in prayer. So what does the word tender mean? Tender is an adjective that has to do with compassion. Some synonyms are kind, kind-hearted, and caring. When I looked up the word in my Strongs, it usually referred to a tender plant, which in my mind is something that can be broken. And herein lies the issue. It's hard to be tender when you're scared of being hurt. And that is what stops me, the fear of being hurt. It's so funny how everything goes back to fear. Investing in people and loving people involves so much risk. In my attempt to make others independent, I'm ultimately keeping myself safe. That is a sad way to live a life. What beautiful things are missed in the process. So, how do I get there? How do I get to this place of tenderness? How do I get to this place of being okay to be hurt? How do you get there? The first thing is to realize you are there. I think self-assessment is difficult for anyone honest enough to open themselves up to it. In James 1, he says, "Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like." Sometimes we are just afraid to look at ourselves with the word as our standard. We know we will be lacking, and it just seems too hard. The longer I am blessed with on this earth, I am more convinced that the most important thing is a day-to-day reading of the Word. How do you know where God can put you if you don't know who God is? Being in the Word allows you to know the author of your soul. It allows you to see your potential. We all get hurt along the way. I can pinpoint things in my life that push me to a knee-jerk response. One of those things is the word real mom. I cannot stand to hear the girls say that I'm not their real mom. I know the intent, but the words hurt a lot more than I ever thought they would. I usually very snappily say, "Am I a pretend mom? Do I pretend do your laundry or cook your food?" The hateful response is to a real hurt, and most of the time, those hateful emotions can come from hurt. But you have to be willing to hold up that mirror and allow God to show you where you are being hateful. Then you can know who you are and who God wants you to be. Once you realize where you are, then you can enter into where you are going. God is always doing a new thing. He is always at work. We just have to be willing to do the work so His work can be productive. In Ezekiel 36:26, it says, "I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh." We have to enter into His presence in prayer to allow this to happen. It says, "I will give you a new heart," but we have to ask. We have to seek. We can't do it on our own. When you enter into where He wants you to be, then you can allow others to love you in the way God created them to show love. I have one stepdaughter who is very loving. I know without a doubt that her love language is physical touch because she is constantly touching me and her dad. If I sit down, she has to be beside me, playing with my hair or her head on my shoulder. It is suffocating for someone like me. But I have to be oh so careful because her little heart is so breakable, and I want her to know that I love her. I don't want her to feel rejected when she needs love. I have to allow her to love me in the way she shows her love, even if I just want to sit in the chair alone. My husband is a servant. It's just who he is. It drives me crazy. But the way he shows love is by doing things around the house. You're probably thinking, I wish my husband would do that. But it usually translates into projects that translate into me doing things on my own. The week of New Year's, when the girls were out with their moms, he decided that he wanted to build a new bed for the girls. He was excited about it. They were excited when they saw it. I had the worst attitude the entire time he was working on it. I was not allowing him to show love in the way he shows love. And we spent much of that week arguing. Allow others to love you. Allow others to show their love the way God created them to show love. When you allow yourself to be loved, it's much easier to love in return, to love dangerously, to love scandalously. That's how Christ loves us. It is a scandal. We don't deserve his love or his grace, and we are to love in the same way he does. It can't be about us. It has to be about those beautiful relationships that he has blessed us with. It has to be about us handling each of those precious ones tenderly, so not to break them down like a tender shoot on a plant that can be trampled. We have to get out of the mindset that it's going to be easy. Nothing about loving others and allowing them to love us is easy. We are human, fleshly people with many bang-ups. If it were easy, the world would be loving, and they just aren't. The enemy wants us to believe that the world is a more loving and accepting place than it used to be. That's just not the truth. The truth is that most people are looking for someone to fulfill them because they feel the holes that are there. Only Christ can do that. I believe that being a tender-hearted person is the only way to show the world around me that I'm his. It's the only way to show the world around me that I am real. I want you to remember that word, real. Be real with God, be real with yourself, and be real with others. Realize that you need to grow, that you may be hard in some spot of your life. Enter into where God wants you to be. Be in the presence of God by being in your word and on your knees in prayer. He will then show you that new thing he wants to do in you and remove your heart of stone and replace it with a heart of flesh, a tender heart that can then allow others to love you. You deserve it. Then love back with all your heart. It may be scary, it may hurt, but you are not only trusting others with your heart, you are trusting the God of the universe to take care of that heart. Trust the Jesus in you. My prayer is that all of us can be loved and love well in this new year. Make that your prayer too. I hope you've enjoyed this teaching on the tender heart and how to be tenderhearted. Now Stacy and Stephanie are going to join me for some discussion. I just finished my teaching on the tender heart, and I really talked about just kind of allowing others to love you and how, y'all know I'm not very ooey gooey or touchy feely and kind of, I know, really? Where that comes from. And I really think a lot of that has to do with being afraid to be hurt and protecting myself. And so I just kind of wanted to get y'all's take on that. Not about me, because I know how y'all feel about me, but maybe a time in your life when you were afraid of getting hurt, afraid of letting someone love you. I've seen it play out the most with my stepdaughters, just, being afraid of being hurt, which sounds silly that children can hurt you, but, words hurt and that kind of thing. So where's a place in your life that you feel like have been afraid to be tenderhearted or be afraid of being hurt with someone and letting them love you?
Well, you want me to go first?
Of course.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, I saw it in Steph's eyes. Like, take it, Stacey. Well, as strange as it's going to sound, I think it's with my husband a lot of times. I'm afraid to really just be vulnerable. There's those moments, not all the time, but I think he has the, there's just more availability to be hurt in that relationship with him. And I always want to just please him and not disappoint him. And when I know that he's disappointed with me, I just almost shut down, you know, and I don't want to be tender and say, you know, I want to be tough, you know, and like, well, okay, I can handle this. But I think it was with him, on a more consistent basis, I sometimes tend to act like I'm tougher than I really am.
Yeah.
And it's harder for me to show that tenderness because that vulnerability, and that's a whole other story,
Right, yeah.
why that's there. But yeah, I think that would be my answer. Would be my husband, and I don't know. I need to work on that, I think.
I think for me, it's probably with some of my family. Like, if I'm real honest, like I have to really work at not being tough-hearted with them, but especially some more than others. But I think that I've gone through hurts in the past that have caused me to harden my heart a little bit towards them. And even when at their best efforts, I feel always on the defense, you know? And I have to be really intentional and aware that I don't close myself off.
I talked about just realizing where those places are, you know, and then entering into God's presence and allowing people to hurt you, but loving also. I think sometimes the main thing is just you loving as much as you can possibly love. And a lot of times that just makes us more tender by default, you know, like when you love, then you allow others to love you.
Yeah, that's true. And two, I think trusting God's love for us and for them.
Right.
And knowing that.
And trusting Him with it. Yeah,
yes,
I said that too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And the tender side of us can come out a little easier if we know that the Lord's holding it all together for us.
It's in His hands and not in theirs. Yeah. That's good. Next week, Stacy will be continuing our 3-part series on the heart with the unoffendable heart. So we look forward to that next time. Always remember,
Your heart matters.